Welcome back to the channel, guys, and in today's video we're talking about the pros versus the cons of the 2015 Plus WRX with the FA20 motor. I said that as if there's a 2015 Plus WRX without an FA20 motor, but we're doing it pros and the cons, and this is going to be one of the last general WRX videos on this channel. As many of you guys know, I am moving to the STI platform and potentially another car, and I'm winding down with the WRX content. The remainder of the content is going to be specifically about my car and the rest of the journey, that, you know, the rest of my bucket list items with this car. But in today's video, we're talking about the pros and the cons of the WRX. I've spent almost 6 years in this platform, 3 years in the CVT. This is almost 3 years in a manual. The current manual is the 2016 WRX Pro Tune through Bren Tuning. I'm making like 315 wheel horsepower. It's an incredibly fun car to drive, and I'm gonna give you guys the most unbiased, feedback and information I can give you. And I rarely plan the driving GoPro videos, but I've planned this one because I think it is really important. So whether you have a WRX, you're considering a WRX, you want to buy a WRX, you're a long-term owner, this might be an interesting video for you, because I'm going to talk about some of the things that are key defining factors of this platform. And if you've got a WRX and you've had it for some time, I want you to let me know in the comment section below whether or not you think I hit the mark on this one or not, because I think this is something that WRX owners have heavy opinions on. And everybody that doesn't have a WRX, check in the comment section below to listen to some of our other experts on this platform. All right, we're gonna start with the pros because I'm an enthusiast and I wanna start with the pros. This platform has a massive potential for power with very little money. With under $2,000, you can have like a 30 to 40% increase in power on this car. You can go from 268 crank horsepower to roughly 375 to 400 crank horsepower, depending on the percentage of mechanical losses and translational losses. But from crank to crank, that's a big increase in power. And I've got to say, at being Pro Tuned Stage 2 Plus, I think that's what you call it, that's the off-the-shelf term, this car's quick. I mean, it's really quick. It's not like supercar fast, but it's fast. I mean, for the money that I paid, it's a fast car. So the second big pro is the fact that this car can literally go through anything, and the confidence that it inspires when you're behind the wheel. So I bought this car because I'm in the Northeast. That's what initially got me interested in this car. The idea of having fun in the snow is really attractive. And I've got to say, I use this car in the snow. I rip this car through snowstorms on a regular basis when I can, whenever it snows. And that's going to be the thing that I miss most about this platform. When I move to the next platform, well, if it's an STI, I might do the same thing, but I'm going to miss the confidence that I have, that the fact, regardless of the weather, I can turn my car on and I feel confident that it can get through anything. That's a huge, huge, huge pro. So a massive, massive pro to this car, this is for prospective buyers, prospective owners, is there is a very low rate of equity decay in this car, meaning the equity that you hold in this vehicle decays very, very, very slowly. I just repeated the same thing twice. You're gonna hold your value in the car, and when you sell the car, you won't have lost as much money as other platforms. Another huge pro to this car is the aftermarket support and community. This car has one of the largest, if not the largest, aftermarket community, with hundreds and hundreds of manufacturers, many, many retailers, lots of experts, and tons of tuners that get tons of volume of work. And that comes together as one of the best aftermarket communities. So there is little that you can't do. If you want to do it with this car, you could potentially do it. And exterior wise, performance wise, aesthetic wise, you've got so many options and so many experts that will help you do it. That transitions into one of our first, still a pro, but one of our also first cons, and that is the community. So the community behind this car is a huge pro. It's also a con, and I'll talk about that in a second, but it's a pro because you have thousands, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands, I guess, technically, if you look at other years and generations of owners that are enthusiasts. They've done tons of stuff. They've done everything you could ever imagine to this car. And if you can imagine it, it's probably been done. So you've got someone there that's had that experience, and they're probably willing to share it, because this community can be one of the nicest places to be, and it's an extremely positive thing, and you're not going to be breaking new ground with whatever you choose to do with this car. Getting into the negatives, one of the big cons of this platform is the community. And why have I gone back there? Well, if you are not your typical, STI is the best and the manual WRX is second best, and it is very much a second best. If you don't feel that and don't have that opinion, because that's an opinion, then you can get a lot of hate in this community. And this community is somewhat toxic and can be toxic. God forbid you have a CVT WRX, there is going to be a lot of hostility towards you for no reason. It's just this like total paradox. And the same thing goes if you're a WRX owner and you're claiming you're better than an STI. You're going to get tons and tons of hostility and hate. So that can be a negative. This community can be oppressive. It is not all oppressive, but some of it can be. The next con to this car is a product of one of the pros, but it is that there is a low power threshold. And it's not that low, but there is a power threshold, and as an owner, I always wish I could make more power, but that really is capped at around 400 wheel horsepower. That's really what the transmission and the block can hold. So if you want to make more than that, it is possible, but you're looking at some capital upgrades, and by capital upgrades, I mean very, very expensive upgrades. So it is possible, but you're more likely, if you're going to spend that kind of money, to be doing it on the EJ platform, on the STI, just because that is a whole rounded, better car suited for what you might be using, high horsepower application. And then the last con is a con that comes from enthusiasm. And what do I really mean there? Ooh, that's a nice new Corvette there. What do I really mean there? One of the cons to this car, and I think this is the most important one, is the product of you falling in love with the car. And I guarantee that if you get behind the wheel of this car for some time, you will absolutely fall in love with it, and this will become, your project, your pride, your baby, all these great things, and it's such a positive. But with that comes the negative of, then you stop using the car the way that you wanted to use it. You start, considering the mileage, and all of a sudden you start treating the car as if it's a $200,000 Ferrari. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all, but it is a con, because so you'd be surprised. The crazy enthusiasts out there, it is not uncommon for them to have 2 WRXs, 2 STIs, or a WRX or STI in their driveway, for the exact reason of they want to care immensely about one and not care so much about the other. That might sound crazy, but it happens, and it happens a lot. And I totally can feel for this one, because in the car that I'm currently in, the amount of guilt and kind of like, rocks in your stomach, butterflies in your stomach when you're doing things like road trips, daily driving through traffic, hard pulls, like parking in a parking lot, all the things that could potentially damage your car, lower its value, lower its appeal. Those things hurt. And I've got to say it's a con, because I almost want to, use my car only on Saturdays and Sundays, which I used to use this car only on Saturdays and Sundays, and it was great. But I guess, forewarning, if you choose to buy this car, if you have this car, when you fall in love with this car, you will find that you protect this car, and you want to be careful with it, and you want to be cautious with it, and it is a huge positive, and it's a huge negative. So hopefully you guys enjoyed my pros and cons of the Subaru WRX. There's lots more to talk about. If you want to hear more about the car, go look through my channel. I've covered basically every topic that you could ever want to discuss with the 2015 Plus WRX. You might call me closing on to an expert. I never want to say I'm an expert, because I'm always trying to learn more. I'm trying to learn, the only guys that are really experts on these cars are people that spend 60 hours a week tuning them, and they've been doing that for like a decade. And those people exist out there, and those people I consider experts. But for everyone that doesn't do that, even if you spend as much time as I do with this platform, with the community, making content, research, not an expert. I like to say that I'm striving towards one, but again, if you want to see different topics about this car, this platform, STIs, Subarus, take a browse through my channel. I've probably made a video on it. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day.